Hello, friends. Welcome once again to another edition of This Week in iPad, the weekly show that discusses all things iPad, Apple iPad, and gadget-related generally. Just a couple notes here at the top of the show. We do have a guest for today, Akshay Kothari, who's the co-founder of Alphonso Labs. They make the Pulse app. He is not joining us yet on Skype. Hopefully he will be along momentarily, but we're going to start the show anyway. We'll see what happens. But he will be here joining us. Obviously, the Pulse app, a really interesting story, a great app, a cool RSS news reader, and really unlike a lot of the other RSS apps or newsreader apps I've been checking out, it's really focused on sort of coming up with a unique stream all of its own within the app. It's not just pulling in your Google Reader. It's not just looking up a couple feeds for you. It's really trying to get you to create a unique collection of feeds within the app that is exclusive to that app. I don't know if you had the same observation.
It's definitely for more casual, pick it up, read it for 15 minutes, put it down. See, extremely visual. See what you want to see, click it, and put it down. Not, it's sort of a, I think even in their FAQ they mentioned they don't want it to be this sort of inbox of news stories like Google Reader tends to be, and Google Reader aggregators. This is something you want to pick up, play with for 15 minutes, put it back down. Yeah,
and the Google Reader philosophy, it seems to be people get into it and it becomes very like clear everything. Like here's where I have all my essential reads for the day, and then I get through them and I clear them and I empty it and then I get ready for the next day.
Devote 2 hours to it.
Yeah, and this is, it's more casual. It's more, I think, how a lot of people like to get their news, which is here are 10, 12 sources I know I like, and then I'm just going to scan through quickly and see if anything jumps out at me like, oh my God, Lindsay Lohan wrote profanity on her fingernail. I have to read about this.
A really great coffee table app.
Yes.
As I put it.
For couch computing, as we like to say. So I'm very excited to talk to him. Hopefully he will be joining us shortly. A couple other things to get to right here at the top. I do want to, I think I forgot to mention him last week, and I felt bad. I do want to mention Matthew Paulson. He's in the chat room right now, Matthew DP, for those of you who are watching us live. He can be found at iPadweek.ly. iPad Weekly is his blog. He also does blogging for us on the This Week in iPad site, thisweekin.com/iPad. We'll get there. We'll get you there. He's doing an amazing job. He blogs 2-3 times a week for us. His own blog is really great. Definitely an integral part of the show, and I do want to give him sort of a name check and thank him right here at the top for doing such a great job. I also want to talk right here at the top. We have a new sponsor. This brings our total to 2 sponsors. 2 great sponsors, Willala, who we'll talk about in a little bit. We talked about last week. They make the Print Magic HD app, which you can print things directly from your iPad. And our new sponsor, Gazelle.com. So let's go to my laptop. Here's Gazelle.com. Gazelle is a place where you can go and sell any used electronics. I know tons of people watching the show. You guys are gadgety people. You're like me. You want to buy the newest, latest, awesome thing. And so you probably by now, if you're that kind of person, have a whole drawer, a whole closet, or a whole shelf filled with your old used electronics that you're not using anymore. I went when I was in the iPad 4 line, and I talked to a couple people there, and I was talking to them about, what do you do now you're getting the new phone? What are you doing with your old phone? What do you do with your old hard drives and your old desktop computers that you don't use? And most of them told me like, well, I just keep that stuff. I've got it somewhere. People don't want to just throw it away. It's got sensitive information on it, all sorts of other stuff. So you can now get that basically re-commerce is what they call it on Gazelle. You can get that in front of people who really want it, and it's greener. It's not just going to fill up a landfill somewhere. It's either going to go in front of a person who would really enjoy it, or it's going to get safely and cleanly recycled. So it's really a much better way to get rid of old electronics, and you get paid for it. So let's take a look at the site real quick. I just want to come in here. You go to, here's the front page. You don't even need to sign up to get started, which is really cool. You just go up here, find your item. So let's say this is my old iPhone. I have the iPhone 3G. You can come right here, find I have the 32 gig one, or the 16 gig one, excuse me, and you can click right there. It'll go right here, and you'll see not only what you're gonna. Oh, first, that's right. First, you answer a couple questions. You really easily makes a call successfully. Yes. Free of water damage. Yes. I'd say it's good. It's got a little crack on the bottom, but nothing too bad. I do have the AC adapter and the original cables, and then you just click calculate. They're gonna pay me $107. It's pretty much what you would pay new for an iPhone 3G at this point. I would think.
They don't, do they? I don't even.
They don't make them new, but
well, they don't even sell them.
Right. They don't. You can't buy a new one. But I mean, that's That's a good price. $100 for a phone I would probably just give away or throw away or put in a desk drawer somewhere and never think. I also really like this that they do on Gazelle. You can actually chart what it's been worth, what it's worth now, and then they'll estimate what they think the price is going to go down to in the future. So if I act today, I get $107 for my iPhone 3G. If I wait a couple months, it could go down to $87, $77. Still a pretty good deal. And then they have more information here about what they, how they come up with the number. Another really cool thing is if you actually go through the whole thing, and I tried it out, if you go check out, they'll send you the box, they'll pay for shipping. They'll send you the box if it's an approved, they really want this item. Sometimes you'll have to supply the box, but they'll pay for shipping if you use, I think, FedEx or the U.S. Postal Service. I mean, a great deal. They couldn't really make it any easier. It's easier than selling it on eBay by a country mile. I mean, eBay's got 100 little steps you have to take, and you have to, your accountant, people are leaving you all kinds of crazy feedback and all this stuff. And, you actually have to negotiate with this individual person, and do I sell it, for buy it now, or do I wait until the end of the auction? And it's a whole thing. This site, you go to 2 seconds later, it's done, you've got a deal, you're happy with the price. And if they get your item and they feel like it's not worth it, like, let's say you said it was in good condition and they think it's only in fair condition, they want to give you $10 less, they won't just process it, they'll actually email you and say, hey, here's what we'd actually like to pay, and if you don't agree to the new price, they'll send it back to you free of charge. So it's really no risk, all upside. A great service, Gazelle.com. Can't really say enough about them. Have you tried Gazelle out?
I haven't tried it out yet. I was actually going to use it on my iPhone, and I've decided to make a universal remote for now and see how that works. Give me a little advice that puts an IR thing on it. That said, I mean, I could use $100.
And not just, I mean, it's not just for iPhones, it's, any kind of old electronics you'd have sitting around.
I'm a pack rat, so a lot of my electronics I keep.
Tons of people, and I know even I, who, I only really got into buying a lot of new gadgets a few years ago, because before that I was broke. But so even I have a drawer full of, like, my last 3 phones and, other little gizmos I bought that I don't use that much. I was friends with, Sean Percival, who's always like, oh, you got to get this, like, it's the Nabastag, it's a little rabbit that sits by your computer and it's Wi-Fi, and all sorts of stuff like that I'm not using anymore. Maybe you bought, Fitbit and now it's not working out for you anymore, and you like Cheetos too much. Anything like that, go to Gazelle.com, Gazelle.com, and they'll help you out. It's a great service.
$100 would buy a lot of Cheetos.
$100 would buy. I mean, $100. You put that towards your new phone. It's almost half the cost of your new phone.
Or Cheetos.
Or $100 worth of Cheetos, which should provide adequate sustenance for a Doctor Who marathon. Should you be enjoying one. So there you go. Gazelle.com. Thanks very much. And Willala. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Print Magic. Sponsors coming on board. The show's on fire.
En fuego.
It's en fuego. So, and as we start the top of the news, I would like to talk, obviously, a little bit of the elephant in the room, I guess, for iPad web series today. The Leo Laporte's Twit network is starting iPad today. It starts in about 15 minutes. Please stay here, watch to the end of the show. You can catch that one later. I certainly will be watching that one later because they'll put the video up. It's going to start at 1:30 live on, and that's twit.tv/live, where you can go watch all of Leo Laporte's great programming. We love Leo here. I know there's always a lot of the fans of Leo and a lot of the fans of This Weekend. There's clashing and there's sort of tension between them, and why are you taking his name and all this stuff. We love Leo here. We love all those shows. It's obviously a huge inspiration for what we're doing, and he was the first to really do this kind of format. So he's starting his own iPad show. I know we moved up. It's a weird coincidence. We moved today's show up, but that was because of the guest. Our guest Akshay from Alphonso Labs wanted to do the show earlier so it could sort of fit into his schedule. So we said, okay, not even realizing when we planned that we'd actually be going head-to-head with Leo's new iPad show. I only made the connection yesterday when I looked up when it would be on. So it was not intentional. We'll be moving the show back to 5 p.m. live normally. And for those of you watching on iTunes, I know this has absolutely no relevance to you, but you can go check out Leo's new iPad show. It's produced by Sarah Lane. She's formerly of Revision 3 and Tech TV. And it's going to, interestingly, unlike a lot of Leo's other shows, it's going to have green screen content and other segments that were produced previously. So it's not all going to be the normal Leo sort of live, like the way we're doing it as well, where it's the sort of filmed live, and produced in the moment, unlike everything else. And I think, for my part, there's definitely enough iPad content. There's definitely enough conversations going on about the iPad to support a multitude of shows. There's already a couple other really good iPad shows out there. So, you know, we welcome that show. I'm sure I'm going to watch and enjoy it and get a lot of, get a lot of good tips. So just wanted to bring that up at the top of the news.
Saying that there's not enough room would say there's only room for TWA in the Apple blog sphere. There's, tons and tons of Apple blogs. There can be, I think, 3 or 4 shows dedicated to what really is becoming their sort of flagship product, and I think will be, as analysts predict, year after year after year, a growing part of their identity. So absolutely, and we're happy to be here earlier on. And
welcome to the neighborhood. Lee. Welcome to the iPad show neighborhood. So let's move on to other news in the actual world of iPads as opposed to iPad programming. According to a recent report from Bloomberg, a lot of major corporations are now approving the iPad for business use. That includes Wells Fargo, SAP, and Mercedes Benz. This is, of course, in sharp contrast to the iPhone, which took like 2 years, I think, for professional people to get approved to use it, including Wells Fargo, who didn't want to get their employees on iPhones at all. A spokesman for the bank said they felt more secure distributing iPads to employees because the devices are more secure than the iPhone was upon release, and that they already use the devices to demonstrate financial products at investor conferences. Among the benefits corporate users are citing is the ability to run sort of a paperless office, that this makes it easier to basically go without printing, without faxing, without having to deal with physical media at all. People can just carry around everything they need on their iPad, and it's for monitoring inventory. I guess that's a big use of the iPad, is basically you can keep a live eye on what you're doing, what you're selling, how things are going, without ever having to sort of log in or open your laptop at all. So, Jacob, what do you think? Is the iPad going to be an essential business device? Is this the next BlackBerry I hold here in my hand, where everybody will be walking around with an iPad? And what does this do for RIM, obviously, who sort of corner the smartphone for business market, and Microsoft, who sort of dominate the desktop for business market?
I don't think it's quite yet the essential app. I think RIM has a lot of experience in the sort of corporate sphere, and they've had a chance to have a lot of feedback on their devices. What do you want in a BlackBerry? I don't think Apple's quite there yet, but I think it certainly could. Tablet devices certainly are going to be, and being the fanboy that I am, I would hope that Apple plays a key role in that, but it's to be seen. I think we're a couple of years away before it's in every single person's hand as a business device. A lot of corporate people, I'm sure, will have one, but they're going to have it for more casual wear. I don't think the software is quite there yet. I just don't think it's it hasn't evolved due to corporate feedback enough yet to where it's going to be super essential.
Yeah, I actually, interestingly, I was talking to my dad over the weekend, who is a corporate guy, and he basically, it's just the keyboard. Like, that's the only, they can't get away from that. I need a big physical keyboard. And I was telling him, like, well, you can get it. There's Bluetooth keyboards and other solutions for iPad, but until there is like one definitive, this is the keyboard that goes with the iPad, and you hook it in, and then you have like, it's almost like a laptop. I don't think it's ever going to really catch on with that crowd.
I disagree there. I think it will. People will get used to it enough, because I think it defeats the purpose. If you want a freaking freaking large keyboard, use a computer, use a laptop, because this I think builds. I think it can replace a computer in a casual sense, but in a business sense, it needs to be in addition to a computer. It's something, like you said, you have a paperless when you're in a meeting and you really shouldn't be using a laptop. You can use it for things like that, do some light typing.
Right.
But it's to fill that void, and people are just going to have to get used to the software keyboard, because I don't see it. I don't see that being the big hurdle to get over.
Yeah, it's a yes and. I have my computer, I have my my BlackBerry or my smartphone, and then I have my iPad. It's not a replacement. It's not a replacement yet.
One thing I would add there, I don't know if it will, because smartphones are so great these days. I could see it replacing a lot of the uses that people use their phone for now. Maybe they could have a less, like, people love the BlackBerries because they have the the clicky keyboard, and it's very email oriented. I could see the iPad taking over that case, and your phone decision, maybe you get a slightly more trimmed down phone that doesn't have as much capabilities or is more oriented to sort of casual wear. That's the device I see it replacing, not the laptop.
Yeah,
if any. I see it as all the above. But
I think that makes sense. They're telling me out there, we'll have Matthew Paulson Skype in, our iPad Weekly correspondent, our blogger. So yeah, we'll get him on the line while we're waiting for Akshay, the guest. to come in on Skype if he's still around, if he's not bailing on us. And if he bails, we'll get him back for another week. I definitely want to talk about Pulse a little, but yeah, let's get Matthew up. Next story is I thought this was just interesting. A designer named Chet Rosales has released a concept iPad case. It includes a camera and is known as the iPad Cam Case. I'm going to see if I can actually pull this up here while I've got the laptop set up, because why not? It's on Wired.com. So it's actually a case that includes a camera right inside the case, and you can actually spin the camera around. So you can take it, you could use it for video conferencing, or you could use it just as a camera, to shoot other stuff wherever you are. I'm trying to pull it up right here. Of course, Wired, they have ridiculously long URLs because it's an SEO thing, which I certainly sympathize and understand. Typed equal signs instead of dashes. So let's see if we can pull up my my laptop now. I've got that up. And you can see, yeah, it's a little case, and then it's got this camera that rotates, and you sort of slip it in. It's a little clunky, but you'd be walking around, and you can see it's got this like extra big bar on the side of your iPad that comes with a camera on it. So do you miss having a camera on your iPad? I mean, is this an essential sort of feature? I have to say, I have a smartphone that I carry around with me. I have a camera in it. I don't really feel like I'm missing all that much, especially now with the iPhone 4, where you've got the FaceTime ability to, to do video conferencing. Anyway, would you consider buying a camera accessory, or would you just wait, because the next version of iPad, it seems like inevitably is going to have a camera in it?
I would wait, but I don't miss it at all. I mentioned this briefly. Jason Kottke pointed out in a post a while ago that David Foster Wallace, in his book Infinite Jest, sort of did a comment on this, as if clearly video conference was on his way in, and he basically, in the novel, said within 3 months people preferred the retrograde, old, low-tech Bell-era voice-only telephonic interface. And I actually see that kind of being true. My dad and I noticed this, in that when iChat really started harnessing video conferencing, we were on it every day for a month, and then for, I think, emotional stress, physical vanity, and a certain queer kind of self-obliterating logic in the microeconomics of consumer high tech, we stopped using it because, it's like, Dad wants a voice chat. I just took a shower. I don't want to do it.
And also, I'm wondering, some other show was talking about it. It might have been This Week in Social Media was having this discussion. It creates this now new tension in relationships, too. I mean, what if the person you want to talk to wants to have a video chat and you don't? They're now, it's like, well, why don't you want to? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing over there? Like, I mean, if you extrapolate a little bit, and I don't want to get myself in trouble here with my lady who may be watching, but, if you're in a compromising situation, all of a sudden there's this extra level of tension of, what if my significant other calls up on FaceChat? Seems like just adding that to the iPad creates even more of that. It's going to become a real social tension, I think, in the coming years.
And again, I'll just read from David Foster Wallace again. A good old traditional audio-only phone conversation allowed you to presume that the person on the other end was paying complete attention to you, while also permitting you not to have paid attention, even close to complete attention to her. You have these things. It's like, I'm on the phone and I'm hearing a rant from a potential lady friend about half an hour about how her toenail appointment didn't go well. I can be on the computer playing...
Her toenail appointment didn't go well.
And I'm playing, World of Warcraft or something.
Right.
And I can't do that on FaceTime. You can see me not paying attention. There's... I highly recommend, it's on page 300 or something if you get Infinite Jest in the iBook store. I highly recommend anyone who has an iPhone or really thinks FaceTime is, the next big thing to read it, because it's amusing, to say the least.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. I guess we don't have Matthew on the line yet.
Page 377 on the.
Oh, look at you.
On the iBook store.
So next story. Mac sales remaining strong. Recent sales of Mac computers indicate the popularity of the iPad is not cannibalizing their popular desktop brand. Mac sales went up 37% year over year for the first 2 months of the June quarter, indicating consumers still, like we were saying before, I guess in the previous story, they're continuing to treat the iPad as a secondary device. Nobody's really using this as their primary computer. It's certainly not replacing people's need to have a home computer. And Apple is kind of, they're describing it as sort of a, well, you use your desktop laptop for content creation and you use your iPad for content consumption. That's it. So it's two different sort of modes of use. iPods, however, as you'd probably figure, taken a significant hit in recent months. Sales are down 13% over the first 2 months of the quarter. And that's sort of obvious because if you have your iPhone, if you have your iPad, that's basically what you do. The iPod is just one feature that would go inside this much larger device. It's only logical people, instead of going and getting that new iPod Touch, would just go and take the plunge and get the iPad. So are you expecting this to continue? I mean, do you think there's ever going to be a time when a device like an iPad is going to replace the old-fashioned notion of you have a desktop computer at home that's your main terminal that you use for, the majority of your home time on your computer?
I think so. I think it'll take a little bit because the analyst that said that iPad sales are going to suck, I didn't agree with that. But one point they pointed out is a lot of the early iPad buyers were geeks, so they're people that are going to have a computer, they're going to have this. But I think slowly, I don't think it's going to be sharp dress because I think most people do need some device for content creation. But I think eventually enough people who really either only would use a computer for mostly consumption, or people who would normally buy a second computer that's sort of the family computer for watching movies and stuff are now going to buy this. And I think that might take a year or two, and then you'll see sort of a slow downgrade, but nothing drastic. But I definitely see the sharp increasing, potentially plateauing within a year or two.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, I feel like it's an Apple thing too. If this was if there was the Dell PC versus the Dell tablet, you might see a little bit more of people opting for one over the other. But Apple fans are going to buy both. I mean, they're going to want to have their Mac. They're going to want to have their iPad. It's just culturally, I think, part of that. Or three. Yeah, it just seems like they've managed to carve out this niche community that wants the new everything, no matter what it is, and so that doesn't really surprise me that people are still buying their iMacs and they're still getting their iPads, and it's not necessarily that they go for one over the other. They sort of one and all. Okay, so last news story. Do geeks hate the iPad? This was I read this column. It was on Forbes.com. A guy named Andrew McAfee wrote it this week, and he asked why geeks seem to hate the iPad, which is not something I had noticed, but I'm in a little bit of a bubble. I can concede that there may be a larger geek uprising against the iPad, even though this is our most popular show on the network, the most searched. All of our viewers are coming in. They're not because they're huge fans of me, which is hard to believe, I know, but they're probably searching for iPad out there in the world, especially on iTunes, and they're finding their way here. So definitely, some of those people have got to be geeks, and they seem to love the iPad. But nevertheless, I mean, I see Domertag in our chat room. He hates the iPad. So obviously, there is also a community of people who don't like the iPad. McAfee's got this whole theory. He thinks there is this Apple. He calls it the ecosystem. That it's hardware and software and content delivery, and it's all Apple. And he thinks that this angers geeks because it violates their sort of unspoken hacker cultural rules that basically say maximum innovation comes from maximum autonomy. The ability to take things apart, rebuild them, revise them, make them better is sort of integral to how geeky people and hacker people and computer science people think of the world and the web and technology, and that Apple is saying, no, we want to control that. We don't want you to take it apart. We don't want you to rebuild it. It's not open source. We don't want you to make it better. We'll make it better. And so he thinks that's why Apple tends to inspire what he calls, quote, vitriol, hyperbole, contempt, and alarmism in technologists and techie sort of people. So I thought this was, it's certainly an interesting, provocative theory. I don't know if I agree, but you are more into that world than me of sort of computer science people, engineering people, hacker type people. Do you agree, and do you think that people are being sort of unfair to Apple, or are they bringing up, valid points?
Sorry, I'm rolling my eyes here.
Yeah, you were rolling your eyes through pretty much that entire description.
How is it at all any different than, I don't know, a PlayStation 3, an Xbox 360? The fact that it can do more makes people feel like they have this sort of entitlement that you should be able to open up. Well,
to play devil's advocate with you for a second there, I would say those are video game consoles with one very particular use case. That it's you buy an Xbox to play Gears of War.
So it's the fact that it can do more that people feel that the fact that it can.
Well, right, the fact that it's a computer as opposed to a video game console.
Who says it? I don't think. But is it a computer? I think a computer by nature is open source and is open. You can play with it.
Well, even Apple would describe the iPad as a tablet. I guess they say device is usually what they use instead of computer, but it's a computer. I mean, no, maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, it is. Don't get. I mean, in that sense.
PlayStation 3, it's interesting because when they released that, I remember part of the marketing behind the PlayStation 3 was it's basically like a computer that just runs your video games. Like it's that powerful. But I mean, I think that's. I think just, yeah.
But people are okay with having a closed system when
it's
within this niche, if it's in this particular vertical. But the fact that it can do so much and do so much so well, people get this sense of entitlement that I should be able to open up and play with it. And it's like, no. If Apple feels it's their world, it's their device, they can sell them if they want, that it's going to be a better and better thing to enjoy. I heard myself for a little bit there. That was exciting. If they keep it closed, then it's to them. And also, I would use Objective-C if I had the choice. Someone was complaining.
Yes.
I would prefer to use something, I don't know, I use Python all the time. But nevertheless, it's up to them to decide what is going to be the best experience. And if they think it's a closed system, then that's what they're going to sell.
Well, but so you do think that these people that McAfee's pointing out, the geeks who hate the iPad, you do think they're being unfair?
Yes. I don't think it helps that the CEO of Apple is sort of a bit of a swarmy, he's easy to hate. The idea of Apple is easy to hate. Success is easy to hate. And that's why they're an easy target. I just don't know why people aren't. I mean, people jailbreak, Wii games and stuff like that. They jailbreak Game Boy games all the time.
Yes.
And you can jailbreak the iPad if you want. Run all the Python, C, Java, Scala, Clojure scripts all you want.
Right.
And I'm sure people out there, Mr. Jeff Ammons hates the iPad.
He does.
Next to me.
Wow. We have a couple notable Apple haters in the office. We've got Matthew on the line. We don't have video, but we have audio. Matthew, you run an iPad blog, so surely you've got some insight here. Do geeks, for the most part, hate the iPad, or is this a very small sort of subset of geeks?
I don't know. I've got 2 computer science degrees, and I'm an iPad owner, so I don't know what the McAfee people are talking about. I think it's just writer looking to get a good Monday story in and try to get some page views.
Well,
I don't think there's any basis to it.
It was a slow news week because it's right after the July 4th holiday, so I'll give him that.
I don't think it's that all geeks clearly don't hate the iPad. There is certainly a subsect of people who like open systems, who want to use it. The choice of, I do know why they picked Objective-C, but it's a long story. It really, I mean, it's syntactically not the prettiest language in the world, but and it didn't have garbage collection for a long time, and a few other things. But it's really not that bad of a language.
Yeah.
I just want to make that perfectly clear. I'm slightly hurt. I'm a little hurt.
Domer Tag says he's got time, and we do because we don't have our guest for today. So if you do want to get into why they use Objective-C, we're all ears.
I will come out. It would ramble is the problem.
Okay. No rambling. We have a strict rule here.
No rambling. I will swear next episode I am coming in with a 5-minute speech on why they picked Objective-C.
Nice. Matthew, while you're on the phone, the camera thing, because this we didn't get maybe enough time to talk about it. Do you miss having a camera on your iPad? Do you feel all the time? Because I know Justine made a whole video where she was complaining about this, that she really wants a camera on there. Do you miss it? Do you all the time think, oh man, this iPad would be so much better if I had a camera and I could video conference or I could take pictures of things on the go? What do you think?
I don't know what I would use a camera in it for. The thing would be a horrible camera. It's just way too big, and to do video conference, you're not going to want to have your iPad sitting on your lap looking up at you. That's probably about the worst shot you can get. I just use my MacBook, and whenever I need to do a video call on Skype or whatever, I don't know if my iPad would really, help out in any meaningful way with a camera.
Yeah, I'm sort of inclined to agree, and as you can see on that blog post I had pulled up where they actually have a picture of it, it's pretty clunky. I mean, it's this whole extra sort of side thing you have to have that attaches to the side of your iPad that the camera goes. I do think it's cool that it flips around like that, but yeah, it's certainly less than ideal, and I find I don't really even miss it. I usually have my phone on me wherever I am if I'm out and about, and I have my iPad anyway, so if I desperately need to get a picture of something.
Yeah. I mean, I could see the device as being, maybe good for an augmented reality app. You're looking, with the rear-facing camera, you're outside, you're pointing your iPad at something, and you see, what's there on a big screen with, whatever augmented reality features are in it. that might be a good usage. But other than that, maybe some games where you use the camera, kind of like Connect type stuff. But you don't need it.
Yeah. Not kin. Nothing like the kin.
Yeah.
This is a little, I know we hate asides here, but 503 kins total sold according to Daring Fireball yesterday. Did you read that?
He also he's hedging his bet a little bit. He posted earlier today that there are apparently 8,000 users of the kin on Facebook. So he's saying it might be a little bit off. Clearly didn't sell a lot.
But 503 is unbelievable.
Well, that's
unbelievable
that's why he's hedging his bet, because you maybe shouldn't believe it, because that might not be true.
I can't even fathom that could possibly be true. That is so few. To have a national advertising campaign and sell 500, you could sell anything and sell more than 503. Just unbelievable. I know it has nothing to do with the topic of the show. I couldn't believe it when I was reading. I was like, 500. I think I put on Twitter, you could literally advertise the hantavirus on national television and sell more than 503 copies of it. It's just unbelievable. Okay. That's the news. Thanks, Matthew, for joining us. Stay on the line, because we got some more cool stuff we'll definitely want to talk to you about. But I do want to take a moment and talk about our other sponsor, Welala, makers of iPrint and PrintMagic and PrintMagic HD are the apps. I'll show you the PrintMagic HD here on my very own iPad in studio. We don't have the printer set up this week. I know we had a printer set up last week, which actually showed off how we can print, but you'll just have to take my word for it. Go back and watch last week's show. It totally works. We have a printer in the back of the office, so this will print back there now. But let's take a look at my screen. You can copy and paste stuff from anywhere on a browser, any text that you have on your iPad, and as long as it's on the clipboard, it shows up right here. So this was my little description of the app that I put in there last week. So if I wanted to print this, it comes up automatically. I could just hit print, and it would print in the back. You can also pick any photo that you've got saved on your iPad. So you can see here, I've got this is anybody can guess what movie that's from in the chat room. It's a classic Alfred Hitchcock film. So I could print this, and the actual photos come out beautiful. I mean, color, vibrant. It looks like you're printing, right off of a high-res copy of the photo, and it's just a photo from your iPad. It's really good. It is not the Bird's Number tag. It is Vertigo. Vertigo is the film. It's in San Francisco. This is the lovely Miss Kim Novak right here. And in this scene, Jimmy Stewart is sort of following her. He's been hired to tail her around San Francisco. It's really an amazing sequence. If you have not seen the film, I highly recommend going to watch it. So this is a still from that film. And then here are, get back to PrintMagic. Here are a list. It's just detecting automatically every printer we have in the office. And you'll notice it works on a lot of different kinds of printers automatically. I didn't have to set up or install any of these printers on the program. It just picks these up automatically. Any HP or Epson printer is automatic. Brother printers work as well. Most Xerox printers work. It does have I'll read the, I'll go back and read, but basically you can set it up. They've got a port. You can set it up for pretty much any printer. And if you go to welala.com, WELALLA.com, you can see a list of all the printers for which it's compatible. So then let's go back to my iPad here. And then you've got the normal print options, just like you had any other printer. The font you want to use, whether you want it sort of wide or letter size or landscape, the number of copies you want and all that. It is just that easy. I'm hitting print right now. It's going to print in the back of the office. There you go. Finish printing. Boom. It is just that quick and easy. We love this. And here is my notes I'll bring up again. So licenses with HP and Epson to ensure that it's going to work every time on Wi-Fi if you have any of those set up. It also communicates in PDL and IPP. And there's the option to enter a manual IP address using port 9100. So any other manufacturer's printers are pretty much going to work. And they also have a free app. That's the other thing I want to mention. You can go get Printer Test for PrintMagic. It's free. You can use it once just to see if it's going to work for your printer. And boom. You're all set, ready to go. You can make sure it's going to work. It's going to work. I tried it with like 5 or 6 different printers at this point. I tried it at home. I tried it here. If you've got a printer that's set up on your network, it's going to be able to find it. It's going to work. An amazing program. Print anything you want from your iPad. It really opens it up. And we were talking about, that the iPad is great for if you want to run a paperless office. But this basically means any kind of office you want to run, you can use your iPad if you're taking notes, whatever else you want to do. You basically run a whole office right from your iPad now. The whole idea of having to send documents into the cloud and then grab them and use Dropbox or whatever and get them on your computer and then print them out, it's over. You can just print anything right from your iPad, and it's cheap. It's like $7. So definitely recommended. Thanks to Walala for sponsoring the show. Thanks also to Gazelle.com. We love our sponsors. And, you know, if you guys like the show, we do it for free. We love to be on the air, and we love getting to know the community and everything like that. It's our pleasure. And if you like the show, do us a favor and support us and help the sponsors. Download the apps. Check them out. Go to Gazelle.com and check them out. We really appreciate it. And, you know, so, and thanks to all our sponsors for coming aboard.
Vertigo, by the way, for those wondering.
Vertigo, yes, I said that.
Okay.
Vertigo, delightful film, one of my favorite films. We have, speaking of delights, we have our guest Akshay Kothari joining us on Skype from Alphonso Labs. Akshay, thank you so much for joining us. Really love having you on the show.
Hi, Lon. How are you doing?
I'm good. So I have Pulse here. I'm going to pull it up just to give people an idea. Walk us through. Tell us a little bit about why a newsreader, what your real sort of idea behind this, what you want the Pulse experience to sort of be all about.
Sure. So my friend Ankit and I started this about 3 months ago. We were in a class together at Stanford called Launchpad. And the whole point of the class was to launch your business. And one of the personal frustrations we had was around news reading on mobile devices. And so I'm more of a kind where, I was looking at I was opening multiple tabs in my browser and going through different websites because in today's world, you're getting your news from different sources. And Ankit was more of a kind where he was setting everything up in his RSS reader. In his case, he was using a Google Reader. And if you look at most RSS readers or most news aggregators, they all look like an inbox. And there was no kind of like, a leisurely way of actually reading your news. It was all about getting as much information as you can. And, you have this information overload where, say if you're following 100 feeds, it will tell you, you have, 5,000 articles yet to be read. And so what we came in, I think about the same time when the iPad came out, and we looked at the iPad and we thought we could really actually revolutionize the way people read news, take away this pain of getting, this need of getting as much information and provide a really visual way of providing news. And so this is what we made. We prototyped it in cafes and kind of, did a lot of user testing, kept changing our product multiple times. But we did it in a very compressed time frame of about 5 weeks. And over the last, I think we've been in the store for about 6 weeks. We've already submitted about 4 updates. And each update, we were trying to improve this product and, make it better. And we also have a lot of features that we're hoping to implement very soon.
Oh, can you give us a little bit of idea, like what direction you're kind of taking it next and how you're looking to sort of improve it?
Sure. So right now, I think we're getting a lot of feedback regarding, I think the biggest pain point for people is that it's limited to 20 feeds.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're working pretty hard. And the reason for limiting it to 20 feeds was twofold. One was, obviously, we didn't want the app to crash, and we are working very hard to kind of, manage the memory really well. But the second thing is, like, unless we actually implement a good organization, like a good way to organize, different feeds into different folders, having more than 20 feeds in the current interaction will just make it, the user experience will actually deteriorate because you can't really go down all the way. And so I think in the next update or in the next 2 updates, you can expect the number of feeds to go up as well as kind of expect the organizations to kick in.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be sort of my main thought was, unlike, and this is what I was saying at the top of the show, I know you weren't with us yet, but one thing that I noticed, a lot of the other RSS readers that are out there, it's really just taking all of your feeds, hundreds and hundreds of feeds, and just getting them so you can clear them and scan through them quickly. And this is much more almost like a news magazine kind of take on the news, where you pick out your favorite sources and it kind of gets them together into a visual collage, and then you just jump around, and it's a much more sort of browsable kind of experience. So yeah, I think it's interesting that you guys are kind of keeping to that paradigm instead of trying to just cram thousands and thousands of little pieces of information sort of in there.
Yeah. No, I think there's some things we agree with when the users give us feedback, but with some things we're very we have a strong design sense or design direction that we want to take this product into. Similar to, I think in the D school, the School of Design where we studied, our professor used to say, there are things that people say they want, and then there are things that people actually want. So actually they'll say, oh, I want to see the unread count on these things. And the underlying matter is, they want to keep abreast of all the news there are. But, there are some things we can improve, kind of just change the way people are interacting. So we're not going to give you the unread count, but we'll give you a way to kind of do what you actually want to do in a much more leisure manner. So that you're not, I think every time I look at my inbox and I see I have 50 unread emails, I think that bothers me. But I think there's a better way to kind of deal with that problem. And I think we're taking this forward, we're giving this whole new way of interacting with news. Mm-hmm. We're giving you this visual way of figuring out, what's interesting out there. And right now you're kind of arranging all your news by news sources, but I think that's going to change also. I think we'll arrange your news based on what's on your relevance, and in some ways what your friends are reading, or if you read this article, what are the other articles you could be reading. So there's very different kind of interesting features that we'll add in the next couple of updates that we're really excited about.
Oh, so you're adding more of a social element to it, almost like sharing on Google Reader, where you can actually highlight articles based on a community or what other people that you're sort of tied with are reading?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. Well, it seems like that's a big element of the iPad that we're starting to see. A lot of games and everything are integrating these kind of social elements. That's an interesting. I love that this was a class project, though. I don't think I realized. I knew you guys were from Stanford, but was this easily the best project in that class? I mean, was everybody like, oh my God, Pulse is going to be like a real company, or was there another project you guys were sort of competing with?
No, they were all really interesting projects. There were 11 teams in the class, and the class was run by Michael Deering, who's a really big angel investor, and Perry Kleban, who was the CEO of Timbuktu. So it's a very solid teaching team, and all 11 teams were doing really interesting stuff, and they were very different in their own ways. I think we might be the only software or iPhone, iPad related business. There was a team which was trying to connect construction workers to, part-time work you need online.
Oh, cool.
There's a team which was redesigning or kind of, creating a business where you can have custom-made bras. And so it was very, very diverse, and all the different teams in the class are, kind of continuing with it. A lot of them already have revenues.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And I think, it was probably in my 2 years one of the best classes I've taken, because you take a lot of entrepreneurship classes in different universities, but this class was different, where the bias or the bias towards the whole class was towards action. In the middle of the quarter, you had to have released your product, and having that kind of a pressure at least pushed all the teams to releasing something. Some were good, some were not that good, but it gave them enough time in the second half of the quarter to kind of change what they've learned from the first 5 weeks, and improve the product to get to revenues, which I think all the teams got to revenues by the end of the quarter.
Wow, that's amazing. And yeah, it is kind of that. It really does train you for real entrepreneurship, which is, just get the product out there. Don't worry, be crappy, and you'll learn how to fix it and make money off of it later. Just get it out there and start getting feedback. So, yeah, that's amazing. I wish I took classes like that at UCLA. Mine were like, what does Chaucer mean in this particular in the Parson's Tale? What is he trying to say? It was
very useful.
It was not very applied. I had to learn how to say the preamble in Middle English, but
Prickifty.
Yeah, but that is not Juan that Abril with her sure sweat. That has not been useful at any time since, and not even at that time.
Except for getting the ladies.
Yes, the ladies love a guy who knows Middle English. So back to Pulse. It probably, and you could probably see when I was demoing it here on the screen, it's probably like the zippiest RSS reader I've used. Like it's the quickest one. Probably because there's maybe less feeds in it, or there's some other reason that you guys have built into it. How important was that when you were designing it, that it had to be like, you have to be able to pull up and start looking at articles really fast? And did you find that you were sacrificing things like having more feeds or a more robust experience to get that immediate reaction payoff when you flick the screen?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that Apple puts in its guidelines is, you click on the small icon on your home screen of your iPad, and the app should start instantly. And that's kind of like the philosophy we went ahead with. It's, it has to be fast to load, but it also has to just take you to the app, right? When you first load the app or when you first download the app, we're not going to give you 5 screens that you have to go through. The app comes loaded with a few RSS feeds, and you can easily change it. And initially, we took it a step at a time. So the first version that we actually released only had, I think, 10 feeds that we allowed. 10 feed was the limit, and we got a lot of people saying, "Hey, I just want more." And we took it to 20 feeds now, and I think we're going to slowly increase it, not at the expense of giving you a worse experience. So we only want to increase it to when we know that the app is going to be robust. And over the last 6-10 weeks, like we've actually, there's a significant amount of technology gone into making this app really fast, which is why I think, you don't see many clones out there, because now it is gotten to a space where it is not an easy problem to solve. Our app is, a bit faster than even other apps which are just text-based. And we're actually giving you images. We're actually making it very fluid, where you can go directly to the website, you can go directly to the text feed you're getting, and you can directly go back home. And I think we're going to increase that number only when we know that, we can actually, overall experience is actually good for you. So the only thing I would say is just stay tuned for kind of more updates. We've only just begun here.
Awesome, yeah. And I do love that you can sort of jump around the web once you've opened the website. We played around with a bunch of RSS readers on the show a few weeks ago, and some of them it's very limited. You can open up, you can see the feed you're looking at, but then if you want to go to the web, you have to basically shut it down and go open Safari and go browse around the web that way. So having it all in one, I think, definitely makes it an overall more fluid experience. So I do want to talk a little bit about the featured feeds that you mentioned a little bit. Like when you first load up the app, you guys are suggesting, here's a few. That got you guys in a little bit of a sticky situation with the New York Times, as we reported on the news here on the show. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened that the New York Times didn't like being pulled into your featured feed, so now you don't feature them anymore? And it actually got you removed from the App Store briefly, I believe.
Yeah. It was a bit unfortunate. Basically, what we had started off with, we were giving you 5 feeds, and that was based on some interviews we had done as to what people were reading. Mm-hmm. So we were including a couple big tech blogs. We included New York Times, and we included one that comes with us is kind of Pulse Hints, which gives you kind of a brief way of kind of looking at what the app can do. Mm-hmm. And I think what New York Times didn't like was that we were preloading it. The app was coming preloaded with New York Times, right? Which is a bit counterintuitive, because we were basically driving traffic to them. But
yeah, I mean, you're saying here's a great source for news and information. No. Which you would think they would want to be identified as a good source for news and information. But so how was it in terms of corresponding with Apple? I mean, I know the app was gone, and then the next day it was back with a sort of new version. Was Apple really accommodating for you guys? I mean, did they make it easy to get back in the store and get restored right back where you were?
Basically, I mean, I think the only sad part was that New York Times went directly to Apple. If they'd come directly to us, we would have changed it and submitted an update. I think we got taken down the same day that Steve Jobs mentioned it, so that definitely helped us get back on quickly.
Yeah.
But I think, we didn't have any direct contact at Apple, but we did what was required, which was we took them out of the preloaded feeds, and we took them out of the promotion material. And I think Apple's overall been very, very, it's been very comfortable working with them. Mm-hmm. And they've been very responsive. I think when you send an update, or when you send an app for update or as a new app, Apple, usually now responds fairly quickly, within 3 days to a week, which is great. I mean, considering how many apps get sent and gets approved, and they usually, if they're rejected, they usually have decent feedback that you can work out of. So we didn't have any direct contact with them, but we submitted an update that I think they approved it, and then we were back on.
Yeah, within about 24 hours, it seemed to me, from the consumer end, which is amazing that you can sort of iterate that quickly. Can you still get the New York Times on the app? I think you can. If you choose to, you can still pull it in. Yeah.
So the only difference is that we don't preload it, and we don't use them in any of our marketing. think the other issue they had was that it was one of the 4 feeds in the screenshots, and we took that out as well.
I understand. So are you guys, you have this whole company now. It's not just the Pulse app, it's the Alphonso Labs. Are you guys planning to develop more apps? Are you going to move in new directions, or are you just focused on Pulse for the time being?
I think right now we have so many ideas on the new space that we're going to continue with it. We can, I think we can extend it to a few more verticals, but at this space, we're really excited about news. Our iPhone app just went live last week. That's been doing really well also. And we're working on a few other platforms right now. And within the Pulse app in general, we have a lot of features that we're adding, kind of moving away from the general reader perspective and thinking more about what kind of value we can add. I think social is a big piece. I want to know what Lon is reading right now, and actually being able to do that in a way that's not too complicated and not too doesn't take us 6 months to release is what we're shooting for. We've been submitting updates every 2 weeks, and I think that's kind of what we want to continue doing. We want to continue improving the product and adding features, that's easy to use and also kind of gives us enough feedback to keep improving it. I think knowing what you're reading is a tough problem, and it also has issues around privacy, but doing it in a way that it's an opt-in thing that you can actually enable or kind of share what articles you're reading is a very interesting thing. And because in some ways, you have friends who have particular specialties, right? I have friends who have a phenomenal design sense, and I always wonder what kind of stuff they read. Or I have friends who read a bunch of stuff in politics, and I'm always wondering where can I find the right articles in politics. And so being able to do that in a way that's very easy to use and very easy to share is something we're working on. And also in general, just improving the experience, right? I mean, right now, a lot of the RSS feeds give you only the headlines. And so working with them to kind of actually give you this visual experience would be great.
Yeah, a little bit more fleshed out. I mean, it's a great app. I look forward to seeing how it develops. Any thoughts, Jacob?
I have one question. How do you like Objective-C?
Objective-C is, I mean, I'm more of a user experience guy. Ankit, my partner, does most of the coding and the development. And I think one thing that worked out great for us was that Ankit did a lot of iPhone coding last summer when he was interning around here. And I think once you get into it and once you've done a few apps, then he's pretty happy with it, I think. So I think we don't have any gripes with the platform.
Good to hear.
Yeah, there was a debate going on in our chat room in the early part of the show about why Apple is using Objective-C. So actually, thank you so much for joining us. It was great to have you here. Really like the app, and thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Oh, sure. So much left to cover, and we're out of time. I don't even know what we should sacrifice. I was going to show off. I made this awesome pencil rubber band iPad stand. I was so proud of it. Can we just see this? I'll talk about how to make this next week. I read about it on a blog, and Roberta can push in the chat room the step-by-step guide for how you can make one. It requires 6 pencils and some rubber bands, and it works like a dream. Like a dream. It's perfect. Can we? I guess we can move the camera. Anyway, it works amazingly. So I was going to hopefully talk about that. We'll talk about my homemade iPad stand next week. It's all right. It's all right. Don't worry about it. I guess we're setting up. All right. So I'll show you how this works. Perfectly. And I know there was some concern I was reading out there, doesn't the iPad rest on the metal part of the pencils? You can actually maneuver it so it rests perfectly on the wood part of the pencils. It doesn't get scratched. I've been using it for 2-3 days now. They've got posted the geekygadgets.com post about how to build your own iPad stand. I am not a technical wizard, believe me. I am not at all. And I was able to put this together in a few minutes. Here's Pulse on my iPad stand, and look at this, even more incredible. It works both ways. You can't get better than that, and it's cheap. It's cheap. So I definitely recommend checking out that Geeky Gadgets post. Real easy to put together. The key for everybody out there: build the base first. You want to get this part, and you want to get the base on, and then you just put these other pencils up, and you sort of snaggle them together with a rubber band. Easy to make, 5 minutes, get a couple rubber bands and 6 pencils. Save yourself the trouble of buying a whole iPad stand. It works beautifully. I'm actually now, I built it just for fun to show off. I thought it'd be a funny little segment here on the show. I'm actually using it now. Mark, my cubicle mate will attest to it. I'm actually using this every day now. Really recommend it. Check it out. Check out that post and build it. Great job by them. Okay, so let's real quickly go through our final segment today, a little something we like to call Planet of the Apps.
You maniacs! Damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Don't download it, Mon. You might not like how it runs.
And I always do like how it runs. That's the ironic part. I'd also like to give, I'd take a moment out. I'm a little hard on the crew here sometimes. We miss a camera, we go to the wrong shot, and I go, oh, come on, guys. And they're doing an amazing job, especially today, I think. Complicated show. We had 2 different people Skyping in. We had a guest who was a little bit late coming in. Beautifully, worked beautifully, the entire show.
Marvelous job.
Marvelous job by the entire crew here. Can't really say enough nice things about all the amazing work that our crew does on not just this show. We got 13 shows running. It's going to be 15, 16 within a week or two. Always running smoothly, beautifully. They do a wonderful job. So thanks all of it. Okay, so today on Planet of the Apps, we are talking about e-readers. It was a huge week for e-readers on the iPad. We had the Borders e-reader app and the Barnes & Noble e-reader app both launched. Also, my Kindle app, which hadn't been working in forever, started to work. Thank goodness. Thank you, Amazon, for coming through and getting my iPad. I got a secondhand iPad. I'll tell you guys all now. There was a guy named Greg who works at Mahalo who had my iPad, and they gave it to me. And so the Kindle, he had signed up for the Kindle app, and it wasn't working. It was set up for his account, and Amazon helped me clear all that up, so I want to thank Amazon. So huge week, not just for me, but for everybody on the e-reader front. So Jacob and I are going to talk about, we experienced some of the e-readers. I will start with the e-reader that comes with the iPad, the e-book or the iBooks. So I will show off. I'm actually reading a book in the iBooks reader right now. Sarah Silverman's The Bedwetter. I know we moved the camera. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So this is what the e-reader looks like with the iBooks. I do recommend the book, by the way. It's not just funny. It's actually it's really well done. Like I like Sarah Silverman as a comedian. She's really funny, but she's actually a pretty good writer. And there's lots of very sort of affecting emotional stories from her childhood in here. It's a lot better as a book than most books that comedians write, which tend to be, a lot of meta, like, I'm a comedian and I'm writing a book. And this is really like a sincere, interesting book. So anyway, I recommend the book, but we'll show you around like how the actual reader works. I actually feel like they're giving you almost too much information in the actual app. If you, I don't know how close we can get here, but you can actually see not only they're giving me the page I'm on, they're telling me how many pages are left in the chapter. You've got a table of contents here that's accessible. You go back to the book right there. You can set the brightness. You can set the font. You can search. The search feature is actually really great. I do like that a lot. And here's the, how you sort of would bookmark something. So there's a bevy of information. The other cool thing that Apple's doing that I do want to show off is you can actually, you just highlight a word here, and then you can look it up in the dictionary, and it'll bring up right here in the app the actual definition of that word. So it's a seamless experience. It's really easy to sort of get that information. The one downside here in terms of highlighting is it's the same downside that you have generally with the iPad copy and paste, which is it's a little clunky. It's not 100%. It's like 80% there. It's not 100%. So if you want to, I highlight a word, and then I have to like drag this little nub around what else I want to highlight. And I can make it like I can highlight it. I can make it a note so I can sort of save it for later. And search, which is really cool. So here I'll highlight the word farmer, and then I can search, and it'll actually show me other instances of the word farmer in this book, which it turns out there aren't any others, which isn't that surprising because it's a book about Sarah Silverman and her life. And why would she be talking that much about farmers? So the real downside, though, the huge downside of iBooks, the UI is great. The downside is there's no friggin' books in it. I mean, I was able to find The Bedwetter because it's a brand new release and it's high profile and it's a celebrity book, so they obviously wanted to get some of those in there. But if you go to the actual iBook store, it's kind of pathetic. I mean, I was testing it out by looking for pretty big, significant books by pretty notable authors. The example I used once before that I will use again is Stieg Larsson's Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which I'd been wanting to check out forever. Now there's a movie version, and I'd really wanted to read it, and that's why I was so desperate to get the Kindle on here, because they don't have that in the iBook store, and it's like, I can't even think of a book that more people want to be reading right now this summer than that Stieg Larsson Girl with the Blankety Blank trilogy. Really sort of shocking that they didn't have that. I'm still not really over that. So you basically have to, they're forcing you to get another e-reader on there just to get access to another library that's going to have a lot more archive books in it. But as far as the UI and the actual use of it, sometimes it's a little clunky to turn the page. Like you have to use a little bit more force to do the flipping motion than I'd like, but that's a really minor complaint. It's really not a problem with the app. It's really a problem with the bookstore that comes with the app is just kind of weak.
Yeah, my sentiment's the same. I have a few books on there and so many, and it's getting better, a little bit better.
It's getting a little bit better.
Not quite nowhere near.
But yeah, the reading experience is almost so good. I wish I could get all my books there because I like the experience of using it as a reader. I just don't love the fact that I can't find any books I want to read.
And we should mention it is an EPUB reader. So if you have any EPUBs, you can put them on there. I've had mixed success with it. I have a few books from O'Reilly Publishing in EPUB format, which are beautiful on it.
Yes.
I also have some from the Gutenberg Project, which are less than beautiful.
Yeah, I actually have one. We can take a look. I do have one of the. I don't know if this is from the Gutenberg Project, but I have Winnie the Pooh, which was a free one that I found somewhere. And as you can see, that's the one that comes with it. Oh, okay, it comes with it.
So it will look good.
But yeah, you see, it looks brilliant and beautiful, and is horribly, horribly sad.
I think
traumatic for children.
I believe, the entire Shakespeare's, and it's yeah.
You got to get the Riverside Shakespeare. It's a physical book, and it's got every Shakespeare planet. Any English major worth their salt should have the Riverside Shakespeare.
I have it, and I broke it. It's a short story. I still have my complete work with John Milton. Anyways, first one I'm going to talk about is The Borders, which came out this week. Yeah, and I just from the get-go, it's get it up there.
That's our official review.
We have 3 recommended, horrible, and other than It comes with a lot of free ones that do look really good.
That looks great, yeah.
The UI it's a little slow, as we can see.
Wow.
Because this one I actually haven't loaded. I bet.
Oh my! This is really taking a long time.
I'll try and, for the sake of brevity, I'll do one that I.
Okay, so when you load it up once, then it's. Oh, still.
Yeah.
That's. I gotta say that is close to a deal breaker for me.
They have some work to do. It reads fine. The animations are a little lacking. There's no. Well, that's because I have it disabled. They have like page flip, which looks like this.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, a little slow, like
clunky.
A little slow. Everything else that you would most things you come expect, overview. We have a table of contents.
Yeah.
Bookmarks are just a bookmark of a page. There's no highlighting. As you can no copy and paste.
Oh,
no
wow,
highlighting.
Yeah.
So that's where most of the come. The only thing, from there, it's standard feature. The book selection is really good. I know you noticed this on Barnes & Noble. It's like that, and it's sort of like the Kindle in that you have to leave the app to buy the books. Kindle, which I'll talk about later, does it a little bit easier, but it was weird. It opens it in Safari. The one real deal breaker is they advertise, well, other than it crashing, is tons and tons of free books, which I believe they are in the store. You don't have to do anything fancy.
Right.
I believe they import them from the Gutenberg Project. That said, whereas on iBooks they looked clunky, I think I have one.
No, they look pretty on iBooks.
Well, my free ones, there are the Shakespeare, for instance, look clunky.
Hinky.
However, on Borders, it look like that.
Oh, no.
I've gotten a few free ones, and they're garbly good.
We just need it translated from the original Wingdings. That's horrible.
Yeah, so...
Borders app, disappointing.
So, and it's fair, because, these are probably poorly formed EPUBs, but at the same time, don't put them in your store. Like, this is where a closed system comes in handy instead of a mass import.
Oh, Steve Jobs.
No. That was
love it.
good. That was good. Bravo.
Wonderful crew we have. Every time on every time, they nail it.
So yeah, it's got some room to grow. The selection was great. I did not compare it to the Barnes & Noble store, which I know you're about to talk about.
We'll take a look at that right now. Yeah.
But I found a lot of books that I was interested in on there.
Yeah. So yeah, to pick up where you sort of left off, let's take a look at the Barnes & Noble app. Amazing selection of books.
Magical.
Phenomenal selection. It's magical. I've checked out the Kindle as well. I think Barnes & Noble has the best ebook selection. I haven't looked at Borders, but of all the three of those stores that I've looked at, Barnes & Noble has the best selection. Let's pull it up right now. So here it's getting going. The one downside is, yes, to get I'm reading Harlan Ellison's short stories, The Beast That Shouted Love at the Heart of the World, so you can see the interface here. Like I said, fantastic. I mean, I think they had every Harlan Ellison short story collection available, which is awesome. And then you can see I'm highlighting the word grave. One touch highlighting. It's super intuitive. Here is an interesting aspect. You can just like in the iBooks one, you can highlight, you can add a note here of your own, and you can search it in the dictionary, which is right here in the app and works beautifully. The unfortunate thing is the dictionary is not that thorough. You do always have the option of Googling or Wikipedia-ing, I guess that would be the verb, the word, but then you leave the app. So it'll open Wikipedia in Safari, and then you have to reopen the Barnes & Noble app. Not ideal, which is okay. The bigger downside as far as that goes is if you want to buy a book, it's very not intuitive at all. If you say I want to buy a book, it actually opens it up and you go to the bn.com website, you go through the whole website to buy the book. It doesn't give you any indication of it's downloading, it's finished, it's in your library, you don't know, it just looks like you got charged and you can't tell what's happening. You actually have to close that down, restart the app, go to your library, and then you could see it'll either say downloading or it'll just be there. It's a horrible experience. It's confusing. You feel like I've just gotten my credit card charged and I didn't get my book. You have no idea where the book is going. You can't get back at all. You're basically on the Barnes & Noble website shopping for scented candles and all the other stuff they want to sell you.
The Borders process is exactly the same. I thought they did a good job of explaining this is what's going on, so I was never confused, but it was a little like, really, is there no better way?
It just, one little button that would be like, back to BN app or whatever, like one little button just so I can go back, or a little indication at the bottom of the screen like that, just a little message that went downloading, so you'd know, oh, it's downloading now, it'll be there in a minute or two. But to give me no information like that, to just show me my like receipt basically, like, hey, we charged your credit card, like, well, I'm glad you charged my credit card, that's great, but where's the thing that I bought? When do I start to be able to read it and enjoy my purchase? So that's not a great experience. Having said that, I love the UI on the app itself. Really easy to use. It doesn't take like a ton of flicking. It looks equally good in landscape and portrait. You can see it actually is very quick. Like for a second you get it stretched out and then really not even long enough to notice. And their way of doing bookmarks is really cool. It's this little thing here in the corner. I'll try to show it to you. You just earmark it. It's really subtle, but then you can get right back to wherever you want to go. And it's got this slider too, so you can just check out, jump to a page if you want to. And then here, this is kind of interesting too. You can actually set the margins, which is kind of interesting. I don't even know if they have that on, with all the different options they give you on the iBook app, I don't even think they let you do that. And it's got the same search that the iBook reader does, so I can look up like the word you, and we can see everywhere that it's used, all the page numbers, really great, easy results. You can jump right around. I realize I've now lost my place, but you can hit back right here, and it'll take you to the page you were right on. Really couldn't make it easier, couldn't make for a better reading experience. I'm enjoying it. This Harlan Ellison book is the first one I'm reading on here. And it's actually, it's really well designed, really easy to use, elegant, as Nunamaya says in the chat room. It's actually, it's really nice. It's a great experience. I liked it a lot, and honestly, very close in the terms of experience to the iBook UI, and such a better selection, it's probably going to become my default e-reader.
So I did Kindle, which I thought had a great selection. I did not compare it to either Barnes & Noble or Borders. I mean, it's sort of hard to tell. Books I was looking for were there. Borders had O'Reilly, some O'Reilly titles, although I would probably buy them from O'Reilly directly. So Kindle, you're somewhere here.
I have the Kindle. I can show them.
Kindle app was actually the first part of my iPad experience. As I read Breakfast of Champions while I was in Boston.
Kurt Vonnegut.
A few days after I had gotten it. I like the app a lot. It's a dual app of iPad and iPhone. It looks really, really good on the iPhone. It takes advantage of the Retina display, but on the iPad, works really well. The animation's not elegant or fancy, but it works. It's quick. It's responsive. Things read really well. The selection's great. The buying process was. You had to leave the store, but I thought did a very good job of letting you know what exactly is going on. And I read this entire book start to finish without any issue at all. So, and really is the biggest testament I can give. Integrates. I thought it was a good booked example because Kurt Vonnegut will do these illustrations,
the drawings, yeah.
including an asterisk, which really is not an asterisk. I shouldn't. Yeah. If you read the book, it's in the first chapter.
Yeah.
But it does a good job of that. The coloring's a little bit off, but it reads really well. The selection's good. It's been sort of my default. My one complaint is that the Kindle store, much like the Apple store, they're closed books. They're not EPUBs. You can't really transport them elsewhere. So they have their own sort of proprietary system to sync them across, which worked really well. I was able to download Breakfast of Champions on my iPhone after a little finagling. That process could be a little bit better as opposed to trying to store them all in the cloud and we'll give them to your client as necessary. It'd be nice to be able to just move the files around like you can actually with iBooks. That said, it's sort of become my default reader when I don't have an EPUB version and I just want to sort of buy a quick fiction book. So recommended.
All right, so there you go. So we liked all of them. I have some issues with that Borders one. It seems kind of not ready for prime time.
Is right. So,
but I'd really recommend if you have an iPad, if you like to read, if you want a good selection, the Barnes & Noble app is fantastic. I definitely would recommend that. Free. Go check it out. See what you think. Amazon Kindle obviously gets high marks. That's what they do. And the iBooks is a great UI, and it looks really pretty, and it's a great way to show off your iPad. It just they need to work on getting more books in there. So that is our show. Thank you very much for joining us. Thanks again to our sponsors, Walala, makers of Print Magic for your iPhone, Print Magic HD. It works like a dream. It's perfect. You can print anything that you can copy and paste and any photo that you have on your iPad instantly. It's quick. It's really intuitive to set up. Definitely go give that app a try, and you can download their free trial to make sure it works for your printer. And Gazelle.com, we love them. It's an awesome way to get rid of your old electronics and get some money. We can pull up the site. It's on my computer again. You can get started without even having to log in. No login process. You can just search for whatever it is that you're trying to get rid of. Like, let's say you have a Kindle, you want to get rid of your Kindle. Here's all the different Kindles they're taking. It's just as easy as a click. Let's say I had a Kindle 2. You just enter a little bit of information, you click calculate, and you can even see the chart right here of how much they're paying for Kindles. Really easy, really intuitive, and good for the earth. Instead of these electronics just sitting around filling up some landfill that doesn't have room for them anymore, you get it in front of somebody else who's gonna use and enjoy it. So, or they'll recycle it for you. Either way. Safe, easy, the free shipping. I mean, there's no reason not to try it. Give it a whirl. Gazelle.com. We love our sponsors. Everybody be sure to check them out. Thanks to blogger Matthew Paulson, iPadweek.ly. iPad Weekly is his blog. Be sure to check that out. He always stops by, hangs out with us when our guests are not around, and we love having him on the show. Total iPad expert, great resource to have around, and does a great job for us. So thanks to him. Thanks to our marvelous crew. We will see you next week at our normal time, 5 p.m. Thursday evenings, live on This Week in iPad.